Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Quick introduction to me and what I'm all about and why I wanted to do this. It's something I'm super passionate about, hockey. Obviously I'm a huge Ducks fan, originally from California, Southern California. And just to give you a quick background on me, geez. I started watching hockey back in like 1991. You know, I was about, I think, a sophomore in high school back then. And cousin of mine who spent a lot of time with was like a brother to me. He was a Kings fan, or I should say he was a hockey fan. We watched Kings games because that was the only team in Southern California. This is when Gretzky was there. So hockey blew up in Southern California. Wayne Gretzky was a huge part of that. But I started watching it because he was into hockey. His friends were into hockey. He was a couple years older than me. And, you know, it just kind of morphed from there. The Mighty Ducks of Anaheim came into existence in 1993. And quite honestly, I was sold. I was a hockey fan. I knew I liked the sport. I loved it. I loved watching it. It drew me in immediately. So, you know, when the Ducks became a team, you know, yeah, it was based on the movies. Yeah, you know, a lot of people look at that and frown on it, you know, but who cares? Disney decided to make a hockey team. I went with it. And part of the reason was I was really into hockey. I was getting into hockey, I should say. I've been watching it for at least a few years. And the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, the concept of it came out first. You know, you heard about it, the rumors, and then the logos and the different things like that. And all of a sudden you heard it was going to happen. And at the time, I actually worked at Disneyland. I just graduated high school, and it was announced they were going to have a team, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, I should say, and they were going to play at the pond. I mean, everything was just so cool sounding, and to me at least. And so what I did is I working at Disneyland, I found on Main Street, they had a small gift shop, and they had a few Ducks apparel, like, you know, you can get shirts and hats and some minor things, nothing crazy. And you really couldn't find that stuff anywhere else. I mean, they hadn't even dropped the puck yet. So I jumped on board, bought myself a hat, and became an Mighty Ducks of Anaheim fan. So that's kind of the background on how I became a Ducks fan. So I was a fan before they even dropped the first puck. So that being said, you know, you know, quite honestly, I really wanted to do something like this, talk about hockey, and I'm a hockey fan. Not Ducks are my team. I do like other teams, not very many. I am a Ducks fan through and through. I bleed orange, but I also really enjoy the sport. So anything hockey, and I'm getting more into some of the other minor leagues, trying to kind of get more involved with that. But let's face it, I'm a Ducks fan, NHL. That's what I really follow and try to keep up on as much as possible. I started this channel because I'm passionate about it, and I wanted to talk about it, and what better way to do it than this? So I currently live in Utah. I left the Southern California finally, best thing I ever did, but I live in Utah. Huge Ducks fan, obviously. I still follow it. I watch every game that I can on TV, and I've talked about it with the wife. I do plan on catching some games and whatnot when I can. So kind of hard to do from here, but when I get the opportunity, I will definitely do that. Live games, can't beat live hockey games. Best sport in the world, hands down. And hockey fans, you know that to be true. So I want to dive right into this. And now that we've kind of gotten my background out of the way, let's just talk hockey. I want to talk Ducks They are my team. I want to touch on a little bit of other things that are going on. What's happened in the offseason specifically with the NHL. I'm not going to dive in too deep with certain things. Those are later videos we can get into, but I want to just start off, talk Ducks hockey and kind of go from there. I'm really excited about this season. I'm really excited. Lots of good moves in the offseason. Pat Verbeek, I think probably one of the best things that could have ever happened to this organization is the hiring of Pat Verbeek. Thank you, Scott Niedermayer, Team Solani, Paul Correa, that committee that the Ducks and the Samuelis put together to go out and find, in their eyes, the next best GM for the Ducks moving forward. Pat Verbeek, go. Please keep doing what you're doing. I love everything you've done. Bob Murray didn't have, in my opinion, the cojones, the balls, to make the moves that needed to be made to get this team where it needs to be. We were there. We had the Perry, we had the Getzlaffs, we had, the Niedermayer years. There were some moves that he made that were, okay, great, but we never could get over that hump from that, the 05, 06, the 06, 07 seasons, obviously when the Ducks were won the cup, and the years following were good too. But moves needed to be made. And in the last, 3 or 4 years, it's just kind of tanked. Bob Murray, and I'm so glad it worked out the way it did, that he had to step aside and Pat Verbeek was brought in, and this team needs a major change. Call it a rebuild, call it whatever you want. The team needed a facelift. And through draft picks and this season's off-season moves, I think we're going in the right direction. We'll talk about some things NHL related, not non-Ducks related, later on in this episode. But really excited about this season. The Ducks, I think, have done some really good things. So from there, we talked a little bit. Pat Verbeek's now in charge. He's done some really good things. I want to talk about one of the first things. I mean, you can talk about the draft. He made some really good moves, I think, in the draft as far as player selection. Minchikov, Gauthier, the top two, picks, and then he had a couple of defensemen in there. I'll talk about the actual draft maybe on another episode. I'm kind of jumping late in here. I want to get my first episode going here before the season starts. Training camp starts today, I believe. They had their rookie camp and tournament with San Jose, Arizona, the Kings, the Golden Knights. They got all that out of the way. Ducks did pretty good, 1-1-1. Not as good as they have done in the prior rookie tournaments, but either way, they're a solid rookie tournament. And but let's talk about what we did in the offseason, some players that we picked up, some new Ducks faces that I'm really excited about. We're going to start with Ryan Strome. Ryan Strome from the New York Rangers signed a 5-year deal, $5 million a year. A lot of people think that's too much. I'm not, I could care less. I think it's fine. He's a proven veteran. He can score. Is he an elite scorer? No. But is he going to put up probably 25, 30 goals? Probably. I mean, it's not inconceivable to think that he can provide that. You add that to our current roster, that's a big win. He's got a lot of hockey experience. He's not some young guy that's just coming into the league. He's been there, done that. Ryan Strome's going to be an amazing player for the Ducks. He's going to add a lot. He's going to add the depth we need. Again, going back to the Bob Murray days. I mean, that's the kind of move you wanted him to make, and he never made it. He never made that move. Pat Verbeek did. And so, again, love Pat Verbeek. Love what he's doing. So, Ryan Strome, super excited about that guy. Another guy I'm super excited about is Frank Petrano. I mean, seriously, these are the kind of moves I wanted him to make. He did. You always kind of want that big splash. Going after some of those bigger names that were available in this offseason. Frank Petrano isn't one of those, but what he does bring is kind of what Ryan Strome brings. scoring depth, veteran leadership. He's been around. He's a hard-working player. You know what I mean? You can't take that away. You need those kind of players. When you look back at former Ducks, when the Ducks were a really, really good team, who did we have? We had hard workers like Cogliano, Sammy Paulson, Rob Niedermeyer. You know, those kinds of players, that's what you want. Those players, the Petranos, the Stromes, that's kind of what we need to start building back and getting our youth core that we want to, build upon, moving in the right direction. And so I'm really excited about Frank Petrano. He and Strome will probably, everybody's kind of speculating, but probably going to play on the same line, which probably is about accurate when you think about who that top line is going to be. Line combinations and all that, next episode, probably something like that. But super excited. Ryan Strome, Frank Petrano, huge depth player signings. Didn't break the bank. We've got lots of money to spend, but we didn't spend it all. And I was kind of glad he didn't just go stupid, and he got depth. Okay, so Frank Petrano, big thing. Ryan Strome, big thing. So the biggest splash we made, obviously everybody knows, Ducks fans know, NHLers know, John Klingberg. Kind of was hoping they would go out and get him. I thought Dallas would re-sign him. I really did. The fact that he is now a Duck, couldn't be happier. The big question, obviously, is John Klingberg going to be around long-term as a Duck? Probably not. It's probably just a temporary thing so that we can get some assets in return later in the season. Now, that being said, if the Ducks do well and potentially make the playoffs, you never know, Klingberg might sign long-term, and I kind of hope he does. He is an older defenseman, but quite honestly, I would like to see a guy like that stick around for a while. We'll just see how it works out. If he plays really well for us, let's hope he stays. If things don't pan out that way, we're going to get a big return for a guy like that. And so I think that's kind of what Verbeek looks at. We may end up keeping him. We got a great defenseman that can score, or we get a huge return for young prospects, draft picks, whatever you want to call it. But I love the Klingberg signing. It works out for the player and for the team. And short-term, long-term, however you want to look at it. So there's your three big additions. Super excited about it. So young players, we've got a lot of them. As Ducks fans know, Zegras, Troy Terry, Drysdale, even the Max Jones, those guys. Even Lundestrom, you can throw him in there. Even though I really like Lundestrom, I think he's like our next Sammy Paulson type of player. But Lundestrom has more of a scoring touch. But I love Lundestrom because he reminds me of a Sammy Paulson. But these guys, and there's others, but man, fighting for a job. There are lots of really good young talent on the Ducks team, not only in the prospect pool, but that are going to make the team this year, and are they going to remain Ducks? Again, Verbeek wants to turn this team into a Stanley Cup champion team like any GM would, but we have the assets for sure to do that, and these players, if they want to stick around and be a part of this, they're going to have to prove it this year. This is the year. I know it. I know guys like Zegras, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be he'll probably turn into one of the franchise type players. I can't see him leaving the Ducks unless he has a complete come apart and falling out. But Zegras will be around a long time. Love that guy. Love his creativity. Troy Terry's got to have another year like he did last year. We all know that. Huge breakout year. Lots of goals. Man, that guy can shoot. And he can dangle. I mean, it's amazing what he does with the puck. Zegras, same thing. But Troy Terry's going to have a big year this year. I know it. And if he doesn't, he's not going to get re-upped and get a big paycheck. I don't know. We'll have to see. But last year was huge for him. This year he's got to have a close, if not a repeat, or improvement, right? I mean, that's what we really would like to see. Maybe get 40 goals this year. But those two guys, I feel really good about them moving forward. Drysdale, you can't say enough about that kid. He is on the smallish side for a defenseman, but man, can he move the puck. Guy can skate, he can pass, and when he's given the opportunity, he can shoot the puck too. But I love Drysdale. I love, just going to drop it in there, Olin Zellweger. Holy crap. Even Minchikov. Man, I've seen some footage of that kid. Wow. So the future is bright, especially on our defensive side. And again, you've got assets too there. If you don't want, you can move one of those for somebody that you can bring in. So we've got a lot. Verbeek has a lot to work with to improve upon this team. But defensively, man, do we have some really good players. But they're going to have to prove themselves. If they want jobs moving forward or a big payday, a raise, if you will, they're going to have to prove it this year. So I want to touch on the draft real quick. Minchikov, Gauthier, those two picks in the first round. I like them both. Minchikov I like a lot, but I like the Gauthier signing too. The Ducks have really good scouting. Okay, in fact, I think the Ducks have the most first round picks and players that they draft playing in the NHL over, I don't know how many years, but they are really good at drafting talent, and that talent turns into NHLers. They saw something in Gauthier. I've seen footage of him. He's a big guy, big center. I like that. I like that a lot, especially when you've got Mason McTavish, who's probably going to make the team this year. In fact, I know he will. So, your depth down the middle, Zegras, Strome, McTavish, eventually Gauthier, Lundestrom. I mean, come on. Anybody out there, real quick side note, anybody out there that's knocking the Ducks in the sense that, they're not going to make it playoffs, or maybe they don't this year. They're going to do a lot better than they did last year, though. And they're going to be a dark horse this year. If they can get it together, I feel really good about what's going to happen, and it's going to be awesome to watch. I'm super excited about this year. Moving on, let's just get into the NHL a little bit. We'll move away from the Ducks for a little bit here, but primarily I wanted to let everybody know that's watching this. If you're into the Ducks, obviously this is a good channel to watch. Please subscribe and like the video. Let's launch this baby and get it going. I really want to do this, content-wise, deliver lots of videos. And I want to real quick do a shout out to somebody that kind of motivated me to do this. And that was another YouTuber, the hockey guy. Man, is that guy, I love watching him. He's super smart, knows a lot. I can't say enough about that guy. He kind of pushed me over the edge to say, okay, you know what, let's do this. Let's see what we can come up with and start talking hockey. So thank you, hockey guy. And don't forget, subscribe and like the video. NHL players. We've got some retired players. Some ones that I was, kind of surprised about. Chara. Actually, that didn't surprise me because he's getting so old, but I kind of thought he was going to do him one more year. PK Subban, that one really surprised me. Anybody think that was kind of out of left field? Like, what? PK's retiring? What? Why? I mean, the guy's still got at least 2-3 years left of decent hockey. Well, I've never been a huge PK fan. I like the guy. He's pretty good. He's a good hockey player. Would I want him on the Ducks? Probably not, no. But as a player, as an NHL player, I mean, PK Subban's always been one of the more elite defensemen in the league in the last, 8-10 years. So that was really surprising. That kind of threw me off. But PK Subban, retired. There's some other ones in there. One of the more recent ones, what was it? Duncan Keith. Duncan Keith is finally hanging up the skates. Now he's an older guy like Chara, where that kind of didn't surprise me all that much. On the Keith Yandel. There's another one. Iron Man, Keith Yandel. He's aging. You know what I mean? And so I get it. So he's gone. No more Keith Yandel. Good point producer. Keith Yandel was. Some of the ones that kind of flew under the radar for me, Jason Spezza is now retired. I think of Spezza, good NHLer for sure, but when I think of Spezza, I always think of the 06-07 when the Ducks spanked the Ottawa Senators in the final. Spezza was part of that team. That was fun to watch. But Spezza's no longer with the around. Kyle Turris is no longer around. That was kind of a weird one too. I was like, really? Kyle Turris? You're not that old, you know? Anyways, but again, I don't know what's going on with these guys personally, physically. Who knows, right? Patrick Marleau, kind of saw that coming. Thought he might try one more year, but apparently not. He's moving on. No more Patrick Marleau. Dustin Brown, if you're a Kings fan, Dustin Brown's finally moving on. Part of that Kings Stanley Cup. I am obviously a Ducks fan. I love hockey. Kings are our number one rival. Not a fan of the Kings. But I have friends that are Kings fans. Obviously, I started watching Kings games. Gretzky, Yari Curry, those Kelly Rudy. Back in the day, the Rob Blakes and the Luke Robitailles and all that. So that's what got me into it. Dustin Brown, gone. No more hockey for him. Tuukka Rask, there's another one, a goalie that finally hung up the skates. That one kind of surprised me too. Biggest retiree, obviously Ducks fans, Ryan Getzlaf. Ryan Getzlaf is no longer going to play hockey. What I do hope, and that was a sad day when I realized that, but you kind of saw it coming. Here's what I really hope. I hope Ryan Getzlaf becomes part of the Ducks organization moving forward and sticks with it. I'd love to see him become part of the organization so that, so that we always see Ryan Getzlaf. When you think Ducks, you think Ryan Getzlaf. Who else do you think of when you think of Anaheim Ducks? Teemu Selanne, of course. One of the greatest Ducks ever. Scott Niedermayer, somebody that pops up. Paul Kariya, obviously, huge. Jiggy. J.S. Giguere. Guy Hebert, who is a broadcaster on Bally Sports West, so he's a commentator for the Ducks. So, there's a lot of big names. Corey Perry. I love Corey Perry. He's an agitator. He pisses people off, but man, he's awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of Ducks like that. And again, back to Getzlaf. I hope he becomes part of the organization moving forward, and that he's always part of the Ducks organization in some way, shape, or form. That would be awesome. So I'm hoping for that. Getting away from all the people that are retired, let's talk about a lot of the big off-season moves that happened in the off-season. The off-season's weird. There's no games going on, so it's kind of like, but I'm always glued to the internet, to whatever. My NHL app is things are happening, trades, free agent signings, you name it. Just wanted to touch real quick on some of the bigger ones. Obviously, the really big one in the offseason was the Tkachuk and Huberdeau trade. Wow. I don't even know what to say about that one. It's just kind of like a, wow. Those are two really big names. I think Calgary won that particular trade only because not only did they get Huberdeau, but they got Weegar. So they made out on that one. But Florida got Keith Tkachuk, young guy, point producer, and he's a tough guy. Likes to and I like that of hockey players like him. Even though you don't like your team playing them and seeing how they but when they're on your team, man, that's always a good thing. So that was a huge one. Now there's some big moves. Ottawa made some big moves. DeBrincat obviously is now an Ottawa Senator. That's huge. I don't know how you look at it. That guy can score. And Ottawa has made some other moves, and that's something we can touch on a different video. But Ottawa in that rebuild, kind of like the Ducks, they did the big splashing. Unlike us, where we got depth signings, the only big splash we made was the Klingberg signing. Ottawa kind of went big time, so when it came to free agent signings. So, man, are they looking to get into the playoffs this year? They don't want to do any kind of long-term rebuild with some of the things they've done. They want to do it. They want it now, at least playoff status. Are they going to make it this year? I don't think so. I don't think they're quite there yet. But hey, man, they're going to put a lot more goals up than they did last year and the year before and all that. So good job on Ottawa's GM for making some big splashes. Some of those names, you're like, man, I wish the Ducks went out and did that. But I like what the Ducks did. Don't forget. Giroux, he's an Ottawa Senator now. Another one of those big signings is like, wow, Giroux, DeBrincat. I mean, how you just made your team way better. Not just a little bit better, way better with those two guys. Another big one was Gaudreau. Johnny Hockey. He is no longer a Calgary Flame. He moved on, and I think it shocked everybody in the hockey world that he went with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Man, something about them must have enticed him, got him excited, because that was the last team I thought he would go to. I actually thought New Jersey was going to land Gaudreau, but Columbus. So hey, go Columbus! Good job. I mean, you've got now Patrick Laine, and who re-signed up for a few more years, and now you've got Johnny Hockey. So not bad. Are they a playoff contender? I don't know. It's hard to say. I think kind of like the Ducks and kind of like the Senators, they're going to be better. You add players like a Gaudreau to your team, you're going to be better. Are they ready to get into the playoffs? You never know. Maybe. We'll see. Let's see. That's the cool thing about hockey is you just never know. Look at the Ducks last year. Nobody expected them to have that start to the season that they did. Man, did they start off great. I was so excited. I was telling my wife, my God, they're like leading their division. They're playing like, I've always wanted to see, since the rebuild, type of thing. But they are kind of like that. Columbus might pull off something like the Ducks did and surprise a lot of people and put up some wins. Let's find out, right? Another one we'll touch on real quick is Kevin Fiala. Kevin Fiala is now a King. That was one of the players I actually wanted for Beek to get Fiala. I was really hoping he'd go out and get Kevin Fiala. He proved himself in Minnesota last year, and Minnesota couldn't afford him, so the move was made. Kings are doing good things right now, and they are predicted to get back into the playoffs, and they're a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to this rebuilding, getting back to a playoff contending team or a Stanley Cup contending team. They're on a faster track than the Ducks are, unfortunately, but the Fiala trade and adding them to their roster helps them tremendously. So good job for the Kings. And then some big contract signings. Obviously, just the one really the most recent one, Nathan McKinnon. Man, did he re-up? That's a lot of money. I think he's making $12.6 or something like that, just a little bit more than Connor McDavid. Holy cow! But he is a franchise player. Colorado's invested into him, and so is Nathan McKinnon. He's invested in Colorado, and they're going to try and win the Stanley Cup. With what the core they've got right now, I think that is a very doable thing. I think they'll probably be playoff Stanley Cup contenders for years to come. Are they, winning it several times, becoming that dynasty type of label? That's hard to do in the NHL. I'm sorry, but the Stanley Cup's probably the hardest trophy to win. Man, big signing there in Colorado. So, I don't want to get too in depth with all that stuff. This is primarily a hockey, you name it, anything hockey. I'm going to try and talk to you about. I'm going to be learning a lot more stats and analyzing things and the analytics of the game and this different than that. I'm trying to get way more, try to get deeper into it if I can, so I can talk about it and share it with you guys. Hey, I love hockey. Anybody out there that loves hockey as much as I do, or if you're a huge Ducks fan, obviously, this is the place to be. We're going to be talking Ducks hockey all the time, and then we're going to touch on other stuff too. You can't leave out the rest of the game because there's a lot to talk about. Okay, hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Go Ducks, everybody.